So, you are probably building your tech startup entirely wrong.
Yeah.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today is June 14, 2026, and well, if you're currently writing code to make some specific workflow like 10% faster,
Oh, boy.
yeah, a foundation model is probably going to wipe out your entire business by next Tuesday.
It's a brutal reality check, I mean, honestly.
Right.
But just looking at the graveyard of application layer companies over the last 2 years or so, it's completely unavoidable.
Yeah, it's wild.
We're in this environment where your core product feature can literally just become a tiny footnote in an OpenAI or, a Google Release Notes update.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission today is to dissect this really fascinating, honestly borderline prophetic essay from Paramendra's blog.
Yeah, the piece titled Answer, One Layer Above,
Right.
and 10x the Ambition.
Exactly. We are going to map out exactly where the real, durable value is hiding in the modern AI boom.
Right.
And more importantly, for you listening, we're going to figure out how to avoid building what the author calls a fragile moat.
Yeah, to set the context here, this text points toward what the author visualizes as this looming age of abundance. But he frames the whole discussion around this specific concept of Solaris.
Solaris,
Yeah.
yeah.
In his broader work, like the book 1000 Solaris, in 10 years, a Solara isn't just a unicorn.
Because a unicorn is just, what, $1 billion valuation?
Exactly. It's just a financial milestone. A Solara is a $1 trillion entity that fundamentally redesigns how humanity operates.
Wow.
Like there are these massive gravitational centers for entire sectors of the economy.
So the premise here is that top-tier founders, the people coming out of Y Combinator, the folks with these massive seed rounds,
Yeah.
they're aiming way too low.
Way too low.
Like they are building on the exact wrong side of the technology stack. But let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure, go for it.
Haven't we spent the last 20 years being told that hyper-focusing on one specific software feature is like the holy grail of startups?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You find a friction point, you build some horizontal software to solve it, and then you just dominate that niche.
Yeah, I mean, that was the defining playbook of the cloud era. It relied on a dynamic, the text calls the great migration of value.
The great migration.
Right. So previously, if you built a slightly faster CRM or, a more intuitive note-taking interface or some sharper analytics tool.
We're golden.
Exactly. You were capitalizing on the transition from on-premise to cloud software, but that value has migrated again.
Right.
The source argues that foundation models have turned those standalone software features into pure commodities now.
Okay, so let's audit a real-world scenario so we can really understand the mechanics of this vulnerability.
Let's do it.
Let's say I'm an early-stage founder.
Okay.
I've spent 2 years building an AI-assisted customer success platform.
Sure.
I've got this slick UI. I have deep integrations with all the major email clients, and I use an LLM to draft responses for support agents.
Yeah, classic SaaS play.
Right. So why is my moat fragile in this scenario?
Well, because your business relies entirely on packaging intelligence that you don't actually own.
Oh.
You don't possess any proprietary unstructured data loops. You don't have deep workflow lock-in.
I see.
And crucially, you lack surviving switching costs. Mechanically speaking, your entire product is literally just an API call wrapped in some HTML and CSS.
Wow. Yeah, when you put it like that.
So when an Anthropic or Google model natively integrates, say, context-aware email, drafting right at the OS level,
Which they will.
which they inevitably will,
Yeah.
your entire value proposition just drops to zero
Okay.
overnight.
So it's like I'm essentially selling bottled water right next to a massive free-flowing river.
Exactly.
And my only defense, the only reason people are buying from me is that my plastic bottle has a slightly nicer logo on it.
Yep.
But the river is foundation intelligence, and it is just flooding the whole market.
That analogy holds up perfectly, honestly, especially when you look at the capital required to build that bottled water stand versus the cost of simply drinking from the river.
Right.
Like what used to require a startup team of 20 engineers and maybe 3 years of runway just to build, I don't know, a specialized data parsing tool, for instance.
Yeah.
That can now be replicated by a sufficiently prompted AI in days or even hours.
Which forces this massive psychological pivot for anyone building in this space. If packaging intelligence into a standalone feature is a trap, you have to figure out where the leverage actually sits.
Exactly.
And the text points us directly to the historical architecture of technology waves.
Right, and what's fascinating here is how consistent this architectural pattern actually is.
Yeah.
The author points out that technology always evolves in a vertical stack, and every layer's sole purpose is to basically create the environment for the next layer to exist.
Okay, so let's walk through that.
Yeah.
Hardware creates the chips, that's layer one.
Yep.
But the chips alone are just, hot silicon. So operating systems come in to make the hardware legible. Layer two. Then platforms make the operating systems productive, like the web browser or the app store. That's layer three.
Exactly.
And then applications make those platforms accessible for specific tasks. Layer four.
Mm-hmm.
And now the AI models are acting as this new intelligence layer operating across all those applications.
And here's the key.
Yeah.
You capture value by building on top of the newly commoditized layer, not by competing with it.
Okay, that makes sense.
The text provides some really explicit historical anchors to prove this point. Like, the internet was just a communication layer, right?
Yeah.
Amazon sat exactly one layer above it to completely reinvent retail logistics.
Oh, wow.
The smartphone was a mobility and hardware layer. Uber sat one layer above it to completely redesign transportation.
So the massive mistake founders are making right now is looking at a foundation model and trying to build a slightly better version of it for some, super niche use case.
Exactly. The author points specifically to the relationship between NVIDIA and OpenAI to illustrate how this whole ecosystem is actually supposed to work. So NVIDIA is building the raw compute infrastructure, the GPUs, the networking interconnects, the physical math engines.
Right. And OpenAI sits exactly one layer above them.
Right. OpenAI isn't trying to fabricate their own specialized silicon in a garage somewhere to compete with NVIDIA's hardware margins.
Well, yeah, because that would be insane.
Exactly, because they recognize their comparative advantage. They don't compete with NVIDIA. They form this symbiotic vertical stack.
I see.
The better NVIDIA gets at shrinking transistor architectures and improving memory bandwidth, the more powerful OpenAI's models become.
Right. So OpenAI's entire business model essentially assumes that compute is just going to keep getting cheaper and faster.
Exactly. They are banking on the layer beneath them succeeding.
So if I map that to the current startup landscape, fighting the layer beneath you is basically a guaranteed path to obsolescence.
100%.
But, that immediately raises the million-dollar question for you, the listener.
Yeah.
If OpenAI and Anthropic are one layer above the hardware, who sits one layer above the foundation models?
Right, how do you actually find it?
Yeah, how do you identify that elusive next layer up?
Well, the essay argues that the signal for that next layer is actually hidden in plain sight. It's entirely within user feedback.
Really?
Yeah, but founders are completely misinterpreting the data. It's this phenomenon the text touches on regarding feature requests.
Okay.
When users complain about a platform, they usually ask for a really specific fix. Like, why doesn't this app export to this specific file type?
Right, or like, why can't I just click one button to generate a weekly report?
Exactly. And a traditional product manager looks at that Jira ticket and says, great, let's sprint for 2 weeks and build a custom export button.
They just patch up the tool.
Right, they patch the tool. But the visionary founder, according to the text, decodes the psychology beneath that complaint.
Ooh, I like that.
Every unmet feature request is actually a distress signal. It's pointing directly toward a layer above.
So when a user asks for an export button...
They don't actually want a CSV file.
Right.
They want the analysis that the CSV file enables them to do in a completely different piece of software.
Let me try to use a different metaphor here, because I feel like the traditional building a better hammer versus building the house cliche feels a bit tired at this point.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's more like the difference between being a tour guide at a museum and actually owning the museum itself.
Okay, I'm listening.
Users are currently walking around this fragmented software ecosystem with a human tour guide, meaning they themselves have to manually connect the dots, move the data around, and draw the insights themselves.
Right, they're doing all the heavy lifting.
Exactly. So when they ask for a new feature, they're essentially just asking for a slightly better audio headset for the tour.
That's a great way to put it. While the actual opportunity, the Solara opportunity, is to build a system that dynamically curates the entire museum exhibit based on who just walked through the front door.
Wow, yes.
The text explicitly states that users are describing an integrated experience that just doesn't exist yet. The friction you feel with your current software stack isn't a bug. It is the white space for an entirely new, overarching workflow.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most dangerous illusion in tech right now.
Ooh, the thin wrapper.
Yeah. Because if users are effectively begging for these integrated experiences, why are accelerators still churning out these single-feature AI tools? It has to be because the single-feature tool is just vastly easier to build, right?
It is vastly easier,
Yeah.
which leads straight into what the text calls the thin wrapper trap.
The thin wrapper trap.
Yeah. A thin wrapper is a business that essentially just routes an API call to a foundation model, slaps a hyper-specialized user interface on the output, and then attempts to charge like a $20 subscription fee for it.
It's just arbitrage.
Complete.
You're literally just arbitraging the gap between a user's prompt engineering skills and the raw capability of the model.
And that arbitrage margin is compressing to absolute zero.
So fast.
The warning in the source is stark here. If your core functionality is something that the major model providers can perform directly, once their models just naturally expand their context windows or reasoning capabilities,
You're done.
your company is already dead. The market just hasn't fully realized it yet.
I want to spend some significant time on the solution the text offers here.
Yeah, the OpenMart example.
Exactly, because the author uses this hypothetical company called OpenMart AI to demonstrate how you actually escape this thin wrapper trap.
It's a brilliant thought experiment.
Let's really break down the mechanics of this, because I think this is where the rubber meets the road.
Okay, so imagine looking at a recent batch of Startup Accelerator graduates.
Okay.
You have 20 different companies, and they're all applying AI to the marketing sector, but they're doing it in complete isolation.
Just totally siloed.
Right. So company one is an AI copywriter fine-tuned on Facebook ad copy. Company two
wow.
generates, mid-journey style product images. Company three uses machine learning just to predict customer churn. Company four automates ad spend bidding algorithms. And company five focuses entirely on SEO metadata optimization.
From a user perspective, that is a disjointed nightmare.
Complete nightmare.
If I'm a chief marketing officer, I have to go out and procure 20 different vendor contracts.
Yep.
I have to establish 20 different data pipelines. And at the end of the day, I'm still the human acting as the API between all of them.
Exactly. You're the glue.
I have to take the output from the churn predictor, physically hand it over to the copywriter tool, and then manually adjust the bidding algorithm based on what the copywriter did. It's exhausting.
Now look at the OpenMart AI alternative that the author proposes.
Okay.
What happens if you take those 20 disparate point solutions and you just merge them?
Oh.
You don't build a suite of tools. You build an end-to-end marketing operating system.
What's an operating system?
Right. You build an architecture where the AI agent planning the campaign automatically triggers the agent generating the assets, which then natively feeds into the distribution agent, which routes real-time performance data back to the budget allocation agent.
And no human is involved in that loop.
Without a human ever moving a single CSV file.
But I mean, practically speaking, and this is where founders are going to push back, the technical debt and the sheer capital requirements to build an OS like that from scratch are astronomical.
They are?
How does a startup actually execute that merger of functionalities without just burning through $100 million?
It comes down to proprietary data schemas and routing architectures.
Okay, explain that.
The thin wrappers fail because they rely purely on the foundational model's generalized knowledge.
Right.
An entity like OpenMart AI survives because it builds a central nervous system. The value isn't in the LLM writing the copy. The foundation model does that for practically free.
Yeah.
The value is the proprietary feedback loop that tells the LLM why the copy failed based on real-time financial data and then automatically adjusts the next iteration.
So the foundation model, like an Anthropic or Google system, is just the internal combustion engine.
Exactly.
And OpenMart AI is building the transmission, the chassis, the steering, and the autonomous navigation system around it.
That's spot on. And look at how this flips the vulnerability dynamic we talked about earlier.
Okay.
If you are just an AI copywriter, a new, smarter model from OpenAI destroys you.
Because they can just write better copy natively.
Exactly. But if you are OpenMart AI and OpenAI releases a model that is twice as fast and twice as capable at reasoning,
Oh, I see.
they just dropped a hyper-efficient, totally free engine upgrade into your vehicle.
Wow.
Your overarching system instantly becomes more capable and your margins actually improve because the cost of raw intelligence continues to trend towards zero.
You align your incentives with the model providers instead of, competing against their product roadmap. But moving from, I'm going to build a cool little image generator to, I am going to build an autonomous, closed-loop marketing department. I mean, that requires a massive, almost uncomfortable shift in scale.
Which is exactly why the author introduces the 10x ambition
It's
principle.
10x ambition principle, okay.
Yeah. Small visions naturally gravitate toward the tool layer because tools are bound by current workflows.
Right.
Large visions are forced into the industry layer because they require dismantling the workflow entirely.
So the essay provides these actual escalation metrics to force this perspective shift.
Yeah, they're really practical.
And listener, apply these to whatever you are building today, seriously. The author says if your goal is to improve a workflow, stop.
Just stop.
You need to ask how to reinvent the entire process from first principles. If your goal is to automate a specific task, you're thinking too small.
Way too small.
You need to ask how to automate the entire department.
And if your goal is to create a better product in an existing category, you need to ask how to redefine the category so profoundly that your competitors' products become completely irrelevant.
And the pushback I hear from founders when we discuss this kind of scale is always like, that sounds like a pitch deck for a science fiction movie.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
Right. It's completely detached from the reality of unit economics and getting early stage traction.
But historical precedent proved it's really the only viable strategy for generational tech companies.
Is it?
The text points this out explicitly. Think about it. Amazon didn't win by creating a slightly better inventory management system for existing brick-and-mortar bookstores.
Right. They didn't just sell software to Barnes & Noble.
Exactly. Tesla didn't win by selling a slightly more efficient battery module to Ford.
No.
They reimagined the entire delivery mechanism of retail and transportation from an absolute blank slate.
Let's apply that 10x ambition to the specific industries the text calls out, because the author lists healthcare, education, manufacturing, government, agriculture, energy, finance, transportation, scientific research, and media as sectors ripe for this first principles redesign.
It's a huge list.
Let's not just, read the list. Let's actually look at what a 10x redesign looks like in practice. Let's take agriculture.
Well, agriculture is a perfect example.
Right, because a thin wrapper approach to agriculture is building like an AI dashboard that analyzes weather patterns and just tells a farmer when it might rain.
Which is just a tool. It's a tool layer.
Exactly. It's a slightly better weather app. So what is the 10x industry layer redesign, a true Solara approach in this space?
The text suggests it's precision, autonomous, per-plant farming.
Per-plant farming. Walk me through the mechanics of that because it sounds crazy.
Okay, so you don't build a dashboard. You deploy a fleet of low-cost drones that utilize computer vision to analyze the exact nutrient deficiency and hydration level of every individual stalk of corn in a 10,000-acre field.
Every single stalk.
Yes. That unstructured visual data natively feeds into a localized model, which instantly routes execution commands to a ground-based autonomous rover.
Okay.
And that rover injects a microdose of specific fertilizer directly into the root system of that single specific plant.
Wow. So you aren't predicting crop yields anymore.
No.
You are deterministically engineering them by removing the human guesswork entirely.
Exactly. You've automated the entire agronomy department.
But, what about the friction? Heavy industries like agriculture or, say, manufacturing are notoriously resistant to adopting full-stack overhauls.
Yeah, they are.
Farmers aren't just going to throw away their tractors overnight.
And that's exactly why the value capture is so massive.
Yeah.
The friction, whether it's the massive capital expenditure for the rovers or the pain of integrating with legacy farm equipment, is the actual moat.
Oh, the friction is the moat.
Yes. The thin wrapper software has no friction to adopt, which means it has absolutely no friction to abandon.
Wow. That's a huge point. If it takes me 5 minutes to sign up for your AI copywriter, it takes me 5 seconds to cancel it when a better one comes along.
Precisely. But if I've deployed an autonomous rover fleet that is physically managing my crop yields and increasing my margins by 40%,
No.
I am never leaving your platform.
Let's look at another one. Finance.
Okay, finance is wild right now.
Because right now, the tool layer AI startups are all building like personalized stock screeners or chatbot financial advisors.
Which, again, assumes the human still needs to sit in the driver's seat and manually execute the trade based on what the chatbot says.
Right. It's the museum tour guide again.
Exactly. A 10x ambition redesigns the concept of wealth management entirely.
How so?
Imagine an AI infrastructure that doesn't just give advice, but acts as a real-time, fully automated micro-hedging engine for an individual's entire net worth.
Micro hedging.
Yeah, so it monitors global supply chain disruptions constantly, It assesses the exposure of your specific 401k assets to that specific disruption. And then it automatically executes a localized short position to hedge the risk and rebalances your entire portfolio, all within milliseconds of a geopolitical event actually occurring.
Without you ever opening a brokerage app?
You literally do nothing. The product isn't the dashboard. The product is the automated financial outcome.
And to your earlier point, if a smarter foundation model comes out next month, that micro hedging engine just gets faster and more accurate.
Exactly. The engine upgrade is totally free.
This realization that the bottleneck is no longer the processing power, but the scope of the founder's vision.
Yeah.
It really brings us to the philosophical core of the essay. Technologists, especially in, Silicon Valley, they have this inherent bias toward obsessing over the layers beneath them.
Oh, we're completely addicted to the spec sheets.
Yes.
We want to argue about how many billions of parameters a new model has, what the exact context window size is, what the exact latency of the API response is.
It's like we treat benchmark scores like sports statistics.
We really do. And the text acknowledges that, the architecture of the neural nets obviously matters.
Yeah.
But it explicitly states that the stack does not end with the AI model.
Right.
The foundation models are merely ingredients. The ultimate layer in the technology stack, the absolute highest level of leverage, is human imagination.
Technology creates capabilities. Humans create purpose.
That's the quote.
That is the defining line of the entire essay for me. Because if you strip away all the hype, a foundation model with 1 trillion parameters is literally just potential energy sitting idle in a data center somewhere.
Just waiting.
It has no intrinsic desire, it has no goal, it has no ambition. It is mathematically optimizing loss functions, but some human being has to define what that loss function represents in the real world.
The human is the API for purpose.
I love that.
I think that's the most critical takeaway for the listener here. The models are raw capability, just waiting to be aimed at a target.
Yeah.
The generational wealth and the structural impact, the creation of these Solaras we've been talking about, that will only happen at the intersection where human imagination meets execution.
Which fundamentally democratizes the opportunity, even if it feels incredibly intimidating at first.
It should feel empowering.
Right. You don't need a PhD in machine learning architecture from Stanford anymore.
No.
You don't need to know how to optimize CDA cores on an NVIDIA cluster. You just need the audacity to direct the intelligence that other people are spending billions of dollars to build.
Exactly.
You need the imagination to look at an industry like healthcare or logistics, see the massive inefficiencies that the tool builders are completely ignoring, and design the closed-loop system that replaces them.
So if we synthesize all of this into the new entrepreneurial playbook, as mandated by the text, the directives are incredibly clear.
Give them to me.
First, do not compete with the foundation models. Structure your architecture to build strictly on top of them. Second, abandon the feature request treadmill immediately. Obsess over industry-level transformation, not point solution optimizations.
Right. Stop trying to make a process 10% more efficient. Design a system that makes the process entirely automated.
Yes.
Sell the outcome, not the software.
Because the macroeconomic reality of this shift is just unavoidable. AI is actively compressing value at the application layer as we speak.
It's happening right now.
Standalone tools are trending towards zero margin. But simultaneously, AI is drastically expanding the opportunity at the industry transformation layer.
It's just moving the value.
Exactly. If you do not position your business on the durable side of that equation, you're building a fragile moat that will inevitably collapse.
You have to move one layer above. And you have to recognize that your strategic vision is the absolute capstone of the entire tech stack.
Well said.
But accepting this premise leads to a really uncomfortable, highly provocative extrapolation.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. If value is genuinely migrating entirely away from the application layer, if standalone software is literally becoming a commodity, are we actually looking at the end of software as a distinct product category?
I mean, if you follow the logic of the OpenMart AI example to its natural conclusion, yes.
Wow.
We are rapidly approaching a horizon where the concept of buying an app or subscribing to a SaaS platform feels completely archaic.
Because why would I subscribe to a tool that requires me to do the work when I can just hire an intelligent entity that simply delivers the final result?
Exactly. You won't buy a CRM software to manage your sales pipeline anymore.
Right.
You will hire an integrated AI outcome that autonomously identifies the leads, negotiates the contracts, and deposits the closed revenue directly into your bank account.
And the software itself.
The software itself becomes entirely invisible to the end user. It's just the plumbing hidden behind the wall.
So if the application layer disappears, swallowed entirely by these intelligent, outcome-based systems, what happens to the millions of developers and founders currently dedicating their lives to building the tools of yesterday?
That's the terrifying part. They will either have to elevate their ambition and move one layer up to orchestrate those outcomes, or they will find themselves competing in a race to the bottom against the very AI models they helped train.
That is a staggering reality to confront.
It really is.
The total transition from buying tools to buying outcomes. So, for you listening, this is the moment for a brutal audit of your own work.
Take a hard look.
Look at your current projects, your startup, your internal corporate initiatives. Are you just packaging intelligence and selling a slightly better hammer?
Or are you designing the autonomous architecture to build the entire house?
You have to multiply your ambition by 10. Look at the foundation models not as a product to mimic, but as a river of intelligence to harness.
Find your next layer.
Figure out what sits exactly one layer above your current thinking. Because right now, on June 14th, 2026, the tectonic plates of the tech industry are shifting fast.
Yeah, they are.
Stop building concrete walls on quicksand and start building the ship designed to navigate the flood.